Welcome to BigDaddie Sports, man. I'm your host, Big Daddy.
I'm LB Jenkins.
And we're with you again this week, just going over our picks in the NFL and the hot topics in the NFL this week. I want to start with, is this the new Tony Romo?
I think Tony Romo left injured against San Francisco and realized that if he doesn't come back, if he doesn't have the fortitude to win and drive this team to win, they weren't going to be successful this season. I think we have a new Tony Romo. I think he realizes that he was on the hot seat and he has to get it done.
I think Tony Romo played 2 average defenses and did okay.
Oh, wow.
I applaud him for playing with the injury, the broken rib, punctured lung. I take nothing away from him. But as far as the play, to me, nothing Tony Romo does in the regular season matters. If he gets to the postseason, he has to make it happen. This is his legacy year. We throw that word around a lot. But this year, for Tony Romo, either you move to the class of Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach, or you get remembered like Danny White as the Dallas Cowboy quarterback, and that's what it is. So while I'm proud of him for playing through injury, he has to get to the playoffs and do things like this. If he wins playoff games, gets to the NFC Championship, possibly a Super Bowl, then we can talk about Tony Romo.
Winning games like this is going to get him to the playoffs.
Regular season games don't mean anything. Regular season games, ask Jeff Garcia. Is he in the legacy of Joe Montana and Steve Young? No, because he never got to an NFC Championship. He never won a Super Bowl. He has all the passing records for San Fran. All of them. But it doesn't matter because he doesn't have a ring. Tony Romo has all of Dallas's regular season passing records. It won't matter if he don't get to a Super Bowl.
I totally agree with you there. Winning regular games gets you to the playoffs, gets you to the NFC Championship, gets you to the Super Bowl. I'm saying he's on the right track to get there.
Yeah, regular season legacy doesn't mean too much. Our next question is, are the 1 and 2 teams in trouble? Sitting at 1 and 2 right now, we have Chicago, Philly, and Atlanta, and all have aspirations to be playing in Indianapolis in the Super Bowl. Should they be concerned this early in the season?
I think there needs to be some adjustments made. Chicago, Matt Forte has to run the ball more. I don't see you winning if you're passing. Jay Cutler keeps getting sacked. You're not going to have a starting quarterback if this keeps happening. He can't go on like he did last year. Or you're going to get to the big one, get to the NFC Championship, and you're going to have an injured quarterback because he's been beat up on all season. Philadelphia, if Michael Vick stays healthy, offensive line needs to do some work. Vick, adjust your gameplay so you're not getting hit as much. I know you want to run, but try to stay in the pocket a little bit more.
But he's been getting hit in the pocket. He needs to run. Standing in the pocket, holding the ball too long is what's been getting him hit. Run.
Fix the offensive line.
I agree, but if you're standing back there, and he said, not me, the quote is, every time I throw the ball, I'm on the ground. That would tell me to either let the ball go earlier or scramble. What about Atlanta?
You know I'm against Atlanta, period. They had no defense. So I don't even care if you make it to the playoffs. You're not going anywhere.
I think you're overly harsh on Atlanta. I do agree that their defense is sort of soft. But 13 wins in the National Football League is 13 wins in the National Football League, and so I don't discount that. I think they need to make adjustments. I mean, the defensive line jumping off sides on that 4th and 1 on Sunday was inexcusable. You can't have that. You know he's hard counting you. You can't do that. But with that being said, I think Atlanta's still in the mix. I also look at the fact that nobody in that division has run away with it yet. Everybody besides them is 2 and 1. And Carolina's also 1 and 2, so it's not panic time in Atlanta yet. There's some things to figure out. Now in Chicago, if Mike Martz is not going to run the ball, you might have to let Mike Martz go. They ran the ball Sunday, under 10 times for the game. For the entirety of the game. And I know you fell behind 14 early, but you got to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. And the way you do that is run the football. And Matt Forte is a quality back. I don't know what's going through his head. Again, he's had this problem for years. They got to run the ball. And again, Mike Vick, run. He keeps waiting for the home run. He keeps waiting for the home run. And see, he reminds me of Big Ben in the sense that Ben does the same thing. He holds the ball, waiting for the big play. Ben can take the hits. He's 6'6", 260. Whereas Vick is listed at 6'1", 200 pounds. He's more like 5'11", 190. So his body's not made to deal with that. So Vick has to run. My next question is, should a coach be on the hot seat when his team is 0-3? Because it's getting hot down in Miami for my man Tony Sparano.
Tony Sperano and Bill Parcells need to get a quarterback. I think.
Well, Bill's gone. Bill left him off the drive. It's just Tony now.
Wow. Well, Tony Sperano was the only one to blame right now. They need a quarterback in Miami. I mean, Chad Henne has glances. You don't have Ronnie Brown anymore. You're not successfully running the Wildcat as efficiently as you did 2 years ago. I think the offense needs to change. I think Tony Sperano needs to advance and realize with his personnel what he can do and try to get a quarterback.
I don't look at Chad Henne as their main problem right now. Chad Henne, has had growth this season, but they have no skill players outside of Brandon Marshall. You can't name me another receiver on that team. You can't.
Hard line.
You just you can't name me another receiver. They need skill players. Their running back, the young one that they just drafted, is coming up. He's looking okay, but they don't make enough big plays to scare defense consistently. Defensively, they're okay. They're not great, but they're average, and that keeps them in games. They've been kind of unlucky so far this year, but I think Tony Sperano still needs a chance. It's too early to say, oh, change the coach will fix everything.
Oh, I totally agree. The personnel on the team, getting Reggie Bush there, Reggie Bush doesn't. You might as well got another receiver, just slot receiver. Reggie Bush isn't going to run between the tackles. So even though bringing a big name to Miami sounded good, he's not producing efficiently for you either.
Okay. In our next segment, we're going to talk about whether Detroit or Buffalo are legit at 3-0.
We have Buffalo. Ryan Fitzpatrick beat the New England Patriots. I said last week, this will judge his character, judge the team, see where they're at. I don't care if the New England Patriots have a bad defense. I mean, the defense isn't playing well. But the point is you beat Tom Brady at scoring. And that's what it comes down to. You have a running back that ran Fred Jackson running on New England's defense. I see this team going somewhere. I can't say it's playoffs. I see this team heading in the right direction. Along with Detroit, you came back from 20-0. Came back from 20-0 and beat the Minnesota Vikings, who, again, I said can't score more than 20 points. They proved me wrong. They scored 23. I see both these teams headed in the right direction. Of course, Detroit depends on Matt Stafford staying healthy.
I like what I see out of both teams. However, I have to say, a few seasons ago, Buffalo 5-0.
6-0.
Took a trip to Arizona.
Yes, yeah.
And Adrian Wilson hit Trent Edwards, and everything went downhill from there. So we've seen this before. In Detroit, a few years ago, John Kitna 6-0, and then everything downhill, and neither team made the playoffs. It comes down to having to do it. Nobody's going to believe it until they see it out of these two franchises. They've been down for so long, and I hate to do that to them, but that's just reality. A couple years ago, Denver brought in Josh McDaniels 6-0. And then you go to Baltimore, you take a tough loss, and then it's over, and then next year the coach is gone. So it looks great, and I'm proud of them for beating New England and hanging with Tom Brady and overcoming the 2 early interceptions he threw. But you got to do it for 16 games, and I'm not ready to hand them the division and say Buffalo's the team to beat or Detroit's the team to beat. I'm not there yet.
Oh no, I mean we got Green Bay, we have a struggling Chicago right now. You know, for Detroit, and then we have New England and New York Jets that Buffalo has to overcome. I'm not handing them the division. Right now, they're in a good position. They're seeing progress. If they don't get it this year, a couple added a couple more personnel can get them in the right direction for next season.
Again, proud of them, but too early to be like, oh, they're in the playoffs. Now, last week, you wouldn't give my man Rex Grossman any credit. You said if he played well against Dallas, you'd give him some credit. 250 yards and a touchdown and a close loss later. Are you ready to say that Rex Grossman has took a step forward in his career?
Didn't they lose? No. Rex Grossman, even in a loss, played well. He fumbled at the end of the game. Didn't see the defender coming. Rex Grossman has improved. Rex Grossman is playing well. He kept it. I mean, he kept it tight in Arizona. He got them to the finish. Did well against Dallas. Tony Romo just showed more initiative. I'm ready to give Rex Grossman some credit. Are you taking the division? I can't say that in Washington.
No one's saying that, but I'm glad you've been enlightened on the subject of Rex Grossman.
I said consistency. Now, week 4, you're playing St. Louis this week, so if the consistency goes away against St. Louis, we're going to bring this back up next week.
We'll talk about it next week, but Grossman is not the same Grossman from Chicago. My next question for you. Was the Colts being 0-3 and now announcing that Peyton Manning is not coming back this season, Should the coach look to trade away a few players to stock up draft picks for next season?
Definitely, I say stock up draft picks. You can also, trade deadlines come soon. Just trade for other players. I mean, if you have a Pierre Garçon that you're gonna trade him and get something else, whether it's draft pick or another player that's gonna help increase your chances of winning next year when Peyton comes back. We realize that Peyton is a Band-Aid. If Peyton is not there, Indianapolis cannot do anything. I give them props. They held their own against Pittsburgh. They almost won that one. But at the end of the day, if Peyton was there, they would have won. Peyton wasn't there. I think get some other people around him. Offensive line's looking good. Another thing, get a backup quarterback. I mean, you've invested 3 years in Painter, and
you still don't know.
You don't. 3 years. You paid this man for 3 years, and you can't say if Peyton Manning retires today that he's going to start. Find another backup quarterback.
I look at the Colts and I say they have pieces that other teams want. You look at a player like Dallas Clark. You look at a player like Pierre Garçon. They obviously are not going to move the two ends, but anybody else on that defense is movable. And you say if I could get a couple of draft picks in here and we kind of restock and reload when Peyton comes back, it seems to make sense. I would also look into it from Kansas City perspective. With everybody being hurt and Eric Berry and Jamal Charles and everybody going down, I would look into, hey, can I trade a couple pieces to bring in a couple of draft picks? Because next year, when everybody's healthy, they should be ready to take a run in the division again. Now, are you ready? Because it's time. It's time for the picks. Last week, somehow, I don't know, it's embarrassing. He beat me again. I don't know. Luck.
He called it luck. I said 2-1. I'm being pretty consistent.
It's early. Don't get cocky. So, here we go. Let's kick it off. Detroit at Dallas.
Detroit at Dallas. All Tony Romo having the right mentality. I think Detroit has the momentum right now to go in Dallas and win. I'm going with Detroit.
It's a gutsy pick. Very gutsy pick. I actually like the pick, but I'm going with Dallas at home. I just think Romo, he's on one right now. He's figuring a few things out. Team's getting healthy. It's still the regular season. It's early. Romo will play well. Dallas will steal this. Carolina at Chicago.
This is hard. This is really, really hard because I don't like the way, of course, Chicago's been playing. That North Carolina defense is actually fired up right now. I'm going to take Chicago because they're at home.
I didn't take Chicago these last couple weeks. They let me down. Yeah, but they got the rookie coming in there, and Cam has never seen anything like Julius Peppers.
Oh, okay.
Julius Peppers can run with Cam, and that's going to make a little difference. Then he's going to meet Mr. Urlacher and Mr. Briggs. I'm going with Chicago at home. Don't let me down this week, Chicago. Tennessee at Cleveland.
If Kenny Britt wasn't hurt, I'll totally take Tennessee. They got momentum going.
What about Baby Favre? What about Baby Favre? Colt McCoy, that's your boy.
And I'm taking Colt McCoy and the Cleveland Browns this week at home. I'm taking them. Kenny Britt's injured. I don't see Tennessee doing anything much. Chris Johnson, 98 yards, 3 games, no touchdowns. You gonna show up this week?
I'm taking Cleveland because Colt McCoy is playing decently again, but not a lot of talent around him. That throw to win a game against Miami, that was a beautiful throw. I like Colt McCoy. I like what Cleveland is doing right now. Now here we go. The fight for the #1 draft pick in the 4th game of the season. 0-3 Minnesota at 0-3 Kansas City.
This is hard. This is hard because I see Minnesota going in there strong, scoring a lot of points, AP running, McNabb making passes, Percy Harvin them catching them. But second half's going to come and Kansas City's going to come back. Minnesota can't finish games. I'm taking Kansas City.
Woo! Woo! I'm riding with Mac 5. I don't know why I'm riding with Mac 5. I'm riding with Vashante Shanko out of Morgan State. You know I got to ride with them. Hey, look, they're going to get it together at some point. Some point is this week. Minnesota gets the W.
They'll get it the first half. Second half, it's going to fall apart.
Washington at St. Louis.
I'm taking Rex Grossman. He has been consistent. I'm taking him at St. Louis. Even though they're going to St. Louis on the road, I see Rex Grossman winning.
This is a tough one. Steven Jackson's coming back this week, and that changes everything that the Rams do. However, I just think the Redskins are more talented and on the road will take this going with Washington. New Orleans at Jacksonville.
It's going to be a closer game. Jacksonville defense is playing well. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game for New Orleans, but New Orleans is still going to win.
New Orleans is going to win because Jacksonville's running the rookie quarterback out there. And his learning curve, they're going to throw every blitz under the sun at this kid. He's going to struggle. New Orleans will win. Pittsburgh at Houston.
Remember last week, and I was like, Houston, you know, they have it, and then I saw their schedule. Yeah, that's still in case right now. You got Pittsburgh at Houston. Pittsburgh's going to win.
This was tough for me because I think Houston's going to come in frustrated, and Houston is going to want to make up for that loss last week. You know what? I'm just going to go with Houston. My gut is telling me Houston's going to take this game. Arian Foster, they have the receivers to go after Troy Polamalu, and of course that's that defense's weakness. I'm going with Houston.
Good luck.
San Fran at Philly.
I picked Philly. All 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks, and now they're 1-2. Vic's injury is plaguing the team. I'm going to give it one more shot. I'm going with Philly.
Philly over Frisco. More talent. Impressed by what Frisco did last week on the road in Cincinnati, but going with Philly. Giants at Arizona.
Arizona, I want you to win. I don't think you can win. I'm going with the Giants.
Gotta go Giants. And I expect Kevin Cole to be pressured all day. I don't see Beanie Wells being able to run on this defensive front, and they'll make sure that in double coverage, Larry Fitzgerald is not catching the ball over them like he did Seattle last week.
Not at all.
Giants on the road. Atlanta at Seattle.
Even though Seattle won last week, that was against a bad defense of Arizona. I'm going with Atlanta. I don't like Atlanta either, but I'm going to go with Atlanta. Michael Turner's going to run all over that defense.
I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think Atlanta will win. Better quarterback play. Better skill position, Julio Jones and Roddy White. And Roddy White has to make up for the drops from last week. Atlanta will win. Miami at San Diego. Now, mind you, if Miami loses this game, Toronto, they're going into a bye week in week 5. He could lose his job Sunday night. There's that incentive to win. Win one for the Gipper.
It is incentive to win, but you have to have the talent to win, and they don't. I'm going with San Diego.
San Diego all the way. Phillip Rivers is just going to carry this team. I told you how I feel about Phillip Rivers weeks ago. San Diego winning. New England at Oakland. Upstart Oakland.
McFadden got 200 yards last week.
176. Team had 200.
We're rounding up. I'm going with Oakland. New England's high scoring, but I think New England's defense sucks. So if Oakland's defense can just maintain, play halfway decent, guard Deion Branch, Ocho Cinco. You see, if you let Wells Welker through, Buffalo showed you can still win. I'm going with Oakland.
Whew. You know, I want to pick Oakland, but there's just one thing that bothers me. Belichick don't lose back-to-back games. He don't, and so I'm looking for Tom Brady to come in there frustrated. Ocho Cinco better start catching balls, or they're going to cut him the same way they did Joey Galloway a few years ago. I'm looking at New England to win this game. Denver at Green Bay.
Tebow.
It's about to be Tebow time. It's about to be.
I'm taking Green Bay.
I'm taking Green Bay just because Denver's offense doesn't have any continuity. It's not consistent. They run the ball very sparingly. I'm running with Green Bay on this one. Sunday night, Jets at Baltimore.
I'm taking Baltimore. Jets, to me, offense is not moving consistently.
300 yards passing last week, by the way.
It's a struggle, and they lost. I mean, you're playing catch up. You get some garbage yards, you know. I mean, I'm taking Baltimore.
Y'all know I want the purple to win. I want to see purple win. But I think Rex Ryan figured out last week that his team cannot run the ball and be successful. And they're putting the ball in Sanchez's hands. I don't trust Sanchez like that. But the Baltimore corners are young, inexperienced, and mistake prone. And we've already seen they have trouble with bigger receivers, Plaxico Berries. And then if you run good routes, Santonio Holmes, I'm taking the Jets.
Has Rex Ryan beat Baltimore?
They only played once.
Preseason as well?
I don't, you know.
Preseason as well. I'm sorry. They got his number. Baltimore's winning.
I would like to see it, but the matchups favor the Jets. I also look for Derek Mason to come and be frustrated that the Ravens let him go and they have a pretty big day. Monday night, Indy at Tampa.
The falling apart Indianapolis Colts versus a young, fresh Josh Freeman. I'm going with Tampa Bay. They're at home. Even though Indy is getting better each week, we don't know who the starting quarterback is right now.
We don't.
Yeah. Kerry Collins could have a concussion. Painter isn't producing. Then they brought in a couple quarterbacks to start in. They're not going to know the system. I'm going with Tampa Bay.
Tampa at home. Josh Freeman is just great. He is in line to be one of the next elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. And that team just plays well. And then they're home on Monday night. First time Tampa's on Monday night at home in a while. I'm going with Tampa. So those are our picks. I'm going to win this week. You can trust me on that one. And for our last segment, we're going to go with our fantasy picks for this week. Fantasy tip number 1. If you have a backup option, I'd sit Drew Brees this week versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense has been playing very close to the vest, holding passing yards and running yards down. If you have a better option, which I know is hard to do, but a better matchup, sit Drew Brees this week. Next we have the New York Giants defense. Play them. That pass rush is going to run crazy in Arizona.
Arizona, 3 field goals. Let's say 9 points.
You might be right. But that Giants defense with Justin Tuck and OC trying to work his way back and Kiwanuka, I just see a long day for Kevin Cole.
Next up, we got Sean Green versus the Baltimore Ravens defense. Haloti Ngata is playing well. We got T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs playing. Of course, 5'2", Ray Lewis. Sean Green's not going to get any points at all. Not going to get any yards at all. Might get a touchdown there. Sit down, Sean Green.
You sit Sean Green also because Rex Ryan came out and said, we are now a passing team. With them switching from the run to the pass, I look for Sean Green's weak numbers to go down even further. Next we have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is great in any matchup, but this week against the Denver corners, play him. If you got him, play him. Matter of fact, get his receivers too because it's going to be a big day. And our last one, tell us about your boy Darren McFadden, your new friend.
Darren McFadden is going to run on the New England Patriots. New England's defense is not in sync. It's the Tom Brady show on offense all the time. The defense ain't stopping nothing. Ain't stopping Buffalo. Not going to stop Oakland. I'm sorry. Play Darren McFadden. He's going to have another close to 200-yard game.
Darren McFadden is right now leading the National Football League in rushing. I look for that to continue. I don't look for them to win the game, but if you have McFadden, play him. We hope you enjoyed this week. We'll see you next week.
Also, follow us on Twitter, LikeBrightJ, that's LB Jenkins, at LikeBrightJ.
And at BigDaddie K6, that's BigDaddie K6.
Have a good week.